Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. As we get started, I have a question for our No Days Off Nation. When something needs to change on your team, who do you go to first? See, when most leaders take action around a change, I think they might be doing it a little wrong. And this is just based on the coaching experience I've had in working with top leaders. It comes from my own personal experience in screwing this up. See, I think that most leaders actually get this a little backwards. The instinct when making a change is to broadcast it to the entire team at once. Maybe you have some sort of big team meeting, or you send out this big long email that says like, "Hey, here's what we're doing and here's why, and all right, let's go and get after it." And then these leaders sit back and wonder why half the room is checked out just a few days later. See, my analysis and just in living this, what I found is that the leaders who actually move things forward do something a little bit different. See, they don't start with the entire team. They don't start with everybody. They start with a few. They start with their best people, the ones who are most influential, who are already bought in, who are already probably showing up in a different way than everybody else. And then they let those people carry the change to everyone else. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the power of leveraging your best people, your top performers, when you're trying to move something forward, an initiative forward, or make change, or whatever it may be. And remember, like at any team, there's actually something that is usually done great, and you'll see this as one of those things. It shows up, these patterns start to show up. You could look to sports as an example. It's always a great place, at least for me, to start. You think about the Boston Celtics of years back, and you don't have to know basketball to know this, but Red Auerbach was the coach of the Celtics when they won 9 NBA championships in like a 10-year span. So 9 and 10. That's a dynasty, right? And if you ask how they did it, the answer is talent, because they had Bill Russell amongst, a number of other talented players. But that's really only half the story. See, if you study the Celtics of decades past when Russell was playing, what you'll learn is that Russell wasn't only the best player on the floor, all around best player on the floor. He was actually the lever that Coach Auerbach used to move the entire locker room. Red actually has been quoted saying that he would actually ask Bill Russell for permission to get on him in front of the team, because he knew if he could push Bill Russell, then the rest of the team would push themselves. Russell was the bar. He was the standard. And when Red Auerbach retired in 1966, guess who he handed the team off to? It was Bill Russell. He made him the player coach. And that team won 2 more championships under him. See, Red Auerbach understood something that I think a lot of leaders miss, and that's that culture doesn't get installed from the top down. It actually gets caught from the people next to you, alongside you. Now, the same thing happened in New England. I may not be the biggest Patriots fan, but I can recognize this. You've got Bill Belichick and you've got Tom Brady, and they had 6 Super Bowls. And every former Patriot you ask or you see an interview around says the same sort of thing. It wasn't the playbook that made it work. It was that Tom Brady set the standard. He was the captain, sure, but he was the first one in the building. He was the last one out of the building. He was the most prepared guy in every meeting. And Belichick had this saying that he borrowed from me. It was called "No Days Off." So I'm sure that sounds a little familiar, but Brady is the one who lived that in front of the team every single day. So Belichick would say, "Hey team, no days off. Like, we're committed." And his captain was honoring that statement every single day. So a new guy or new players would walk in, they'd look at Tom and they think, okay, that's how we do it here. That's how we operate. See, Belichick didn't have to enforce the culture in the locker room because Tom Brady did it for him. And that's massive leverage. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's in sports, right? You've got two of the greatest all-time athletes and a couple of the greatest coaches of all time. What does that actually have to do with my business? Well, let me give you a business example. In 2006, Ford Motor Company, they are getting crushed. They're hemorrhaging a ton of money. They were about to lose $17 billion that year. And the Ford board brings in a gentleman named, I'm going to mispronounce his name. It's Alan Mulally. Mulally, I think is how you say his name. He was from Boeing, and they brought him in to turn it around. And Mulally walks in, and he sets up a weekly meeting where every executive has to report on their division using a code and using a color code. And the color green meant we're on track, and yellow meant this is at risk, and red meant it was off plan with no plan to fix it. So it was a pretty simple system, a green, yellow, red system. So the very first meeting, every single chart is green. Now remember, Ford is losing billions of dollars a quarter, and every executive in the room in this meeting is reporting that everything is fine. Now, why are they doing that? Well, because for years, the culture at Ford had been, if you admit a problem, then you are the problem. So you'd hide it, you'd bury it, or you'd spin up an excuse. So Mulally stops the meeting and he says, all right, guys, we're losing $17 billion this year. How in the world is everything green? And the room, of course, goes silent because nobody trusts him just yet. Nobody believes the new rules of transparency are real. Until really the next week, when one executive, a guy named Mark Fields, as the story goes, has a launch problem with the Ford Edge, one of their cars. There was a suspension issue or something like that, and Mark Fields has to delay production. And Fields figures, you know what? I'm probably going to get fired anyway, so I might as well go down telling the truth. So he puts up a red slide. So remember, red meant we're in trouble. There's a big problem here. I don't have a plan to fix it. And he puts this slide up in the meeting, and the room goes silent again. It freezes, and everyone's expecting Mulally to maybe fire him on the spot. And instead, Mulally claps, like literally, so the story goes, starts clapping. He says to Mark, this is great visibility. Now, who in the room can help him? And another executive offers help, and then another one, and then the problem gets solved that morning. So the next week, of course, now the charts look like a rainbow, right? There's reds, there's yellows, there's some greens. So the whole culture turned in a matter of a couple of weeks because one engaged person was willing to go first. Ford went from a $17 billion loss to profitability. It wasn't just because of this, but this certainly played a role. They were the only company of the big three that didn't take a government bailout. And again, the turning point here wasn't the new system. The system existed, right out the gate. The turning point was when, this top performer used his credibility to validate it. And I think that's the lesson. See, you don't change a culture by announcing it to the team or by sending out an email or whatever it may be. You change it by getting your best people to buy in, support it, and model it first. Make sense? So when you go back to Bill Russell, Red Auerbach was working through his top person. When you go back to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick would cast the vision and he'd leave the locker room and he'd leave it to Brady to influence his peers. And at Ford, Mulally made it okay for individuals to share even the hard facts. And it took one executive, maybe a couple executives to buy in, and it influenced or modeled the behavior for everybody else, and it changed that culture. So here's your action item for the week. If you lead a team, I want you to identify your 2 or 3 top people. I'm not looking for the loudest people. I'm not looking for the ones that maybe are most tenured. I'm talking about your best, and how you define best might vary depending on your team. Some might base it on production. Some might base it on energy or activity. I think you know who they are, though. These are the ones who are already engaged, who already get it, who already bring the energy that you wish everyone brought. Then, before you announce let's say your next change, whatever it is, a new system, a new standard, a new direction, I want you to go to these 2 or 3 first and go to them one-on-one and tell them where you're headed, ask for their input, get their take on the plan, and then ask them to help you carry it. So when you announce it to the broader team, you don't have just 2 or 3 people in the room. You now have 4, you plus them. And those 2 or 3 individuals I'm talking about are going to do more to move that change forward than you probably will. And that's because their teammates trust them in a way that, frankly, you just don't have. They don't trust you to the same level. You're not their peer. Now, I know some of you listening, of course, are not leading a team right now. You're maybe a solo producer, or you haven't built such that you have a bunch of people around you, or maybe you're an individual contributor. Well, you're building something on your own. So this still applies in 2 ways. Number one, you are someone's top performer, or you could be. So whoever's leading your organization, they need you to be the person who goes first, the one who tries the new thing, the one who admits that, that red slide, the one who shows everybody else, what the new direction looks like and that it's real. That role is probably available in your organization. And the people who take it become the people who get the next opportunity. That's how Mark Fields eventually became the CEO of Ford. And that's how Bill Russell became the head coach after Red Auerbach. The top 20% within an organization becomes the next leadership group. Now, the second thing here is, I mentioned there's 2. The second thing is, if you're an individual contributor, this works in your personal life too. If you want to change your habits, don't announce it. Find the one person in your circle who's already living the way you want to live and spend more time with them. If you want to get more serious around your fitness or your money or your business, you don't need a new program. You probably need proximity to a top performer. Because when you hang out with them, their standard starts to become your standard. And that to me is real leverage. So again, this week, one action. Whether you lead a team or you lead yourself, identify the top performer who's going to help you move what you're trying to move next. Have that conversation with them, pour into them, get yourself into their world, and let that magic happen, that leverage happen. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.